The coming 9 days could decide everything for Novo Nordisk and for us as shareholders. We are currently in a phase where markets are not just moving fast, but where probably one of the most controversial stocks of the last few years is standing at an absolute crossroad. Anyone who thought that after the turbulence of the last few months, things would finally calm down was completely wrong. The headlines just do not stop. They keep hitting the company and our investment case like constant fire. And I will be honest with you today, many investors are extremely nervous right now, and I'm also watching the situation with a mix of sharp analysis and the necessary humility in front of the market. Because as you know, I personally hold a mid-4-figure position in Novo Nordisk, so I'm sitting in the same boat as you, and I personally feel every shake in the chart. The decisive question we are going to answer today is, are we currently seeing the first signs of a massive breakout and comeback? Or is this just a calm before the next big storm that could push us below the 30 euro mark? Today we will leave all the emotional noise from the Wall Street aside and focus only on the hard facts from the last few days. From a brutal launch followed by the competition to secret Amazon plans. Let's get started. Let's go straight to the first major bombshell, which came out on April 24 and should feel like medicine for the soul for Novo investors. The so-called Foundayo flop. You remember, Eli Lilly launched orforglipron, marketed as Foundayo, a new weight loss pill that was seen as the ultimate Novo killer. But so far, reality looks completely different. The first hard prescription numbers from IQVIA are now on the table, and you really have to let this sink in. In the second week after launch, Foundayo reached only 3,707 prescriptions. For comparison, Novo Nordisk oral Wegovy pill generated an impressive 18,410 prescriptions in the exact same period after its launch in January. That is a difference of almost 5 times. While analysts expected Lilly to take the market by storm, this raw number shows us that Novo Nordisk's first mover advantage was massively underestimated. Why is this so relevant? Doctors and patients trust what they already know. The Wegovy brand is now so deeply anchored in people's minds that new competitor, even if it comes from a giant like Lilly, cannot simply kick the door open overnight. For us, this means one thing. The fear of an immediate margin collapse caused by Lilly's pill was exaggerated. Novo is holding its ground, and it is doing so with a level of dominance that should make even the biggest skeptics think twice. When the competition is weaker than expected, this strengthens Novo Nordisk's pricing power. And that is exactly what we want to see in the financial statements. But Novo Nordisk is no longer a one-trick pony that only lives from the weight loss hype. On April 20, there was another piece of news that almost got lost in the broader market noise, but it is extremely important for the long-term diversification of Novo's portfolio. I am talking about the success of the hibiscus study with the drug etavopivat. This is about the treatment of sickle cell disease, a serious genetic disease. And the data is phenomenal. Etavopivat was able to reduce the rate of painful blood vessel blockages by 27% and significantly improved hemoglobin levels in almost half of the patients. This shows us two things. First, the Forma Therapeutics acquisition from 2022 is now starting to pay off fundamentally. And second, Novo Nordisk is building a second highly profitable pillar in the field of rare diseases. Strategically, this is a brilliant move to reduce dependence on the volatile obesity market. We are talking about a market with extremely high barriers to entry and customers with strong ability to pay. Anyone who only looks at the weight loss injections is missing the enormous potential in the pipeline. Feel free to subscribe to the channel now so I can continue to keep you up to date on these complex medical developments so you do not miss any important milestone in the pipeline. Thank you very much for your support. Then, on April 21, the next bomb dropped. Amazon is officially entering the GLP-1 business. Through Amazon One Medical, the company launched a program designed to make access to weight loss injections and pills radically easier. At first glance, this sounds mixed for Novo shareholders. On the one hand, working with a logistics giant means massive reach. Amazon can deliver these drugs directly to your doorstep with the same-day delivery. A level of convenience that no local pharmacy around the corner can offer. On the other hand, we all know what happens when Amazon enters a market. Price pressure increases. Amazon is advertising prices starting at $25 per month for insured patients. For us as investors, this sends a very clear signal. The democratization of weight loss drugs is moving forward, but it comes at a price. The days of $1,000 margins per package are slowly coming to an end. We are moving away from a luxury product and toward a mass market product. For Novo, this means volume is now the key. Whoever has the capacity to flood the market wins. And this is exactly where Novo currently has an advantage, thanks to its billions in investments into new factories. So Amazon is not really an enemy, it is more of a catalyst for a business model that works through sheer volume. Another important point we learned on April 23 was the result of the Pioneer Teen study. Here, the oral semaglutide pill was tested for the first time in children and teenagers between the ages of 10 and 17, and results were a clear success. A reduction in HbA1c of 0.83% compared to the placebo is a strong result in this age group. Why is this so important for us as investors? Because it massively expands the addressable market. We are talking about millions of young patients who have had very few options so far. If Novo receives the label expansion here, the company secures tomorrow's patients today. It builds a moat that can last for decades. If patients are started on Novo products at a young age, they often stay loyal to the company for life. That is the kind of long-term thinking I expect from a quality company. This is not just about the next quarter, this is about the dominance over the next decade. A signal of real confidence came directly from the management on April 27. The share buyback program is running at full speed. Novo Nordisk has bought back B shares worth billions of Danish kroner in the latest period alone. That is not a coincidence. Management clearly sees the current share price as undervalued and is using cash reserves to artificially push earnings per share higher. This is exactly what we want to see as long-term investors: capital discipline. But all of this was only the warm-up for what is coming in the next 9 days. On May 6, the earnings numbers will be released, and I will say this very openly. These numbers will decide everything. Analysts expect earnings per share of around $0.89. But much more important than the raw numbers will be the guidance for the rest of 2026. Will management raise the outlook because production is ramping up faster than expected? Or will we see more price concessions in the United States? The next 9 days are the calm before the storm. Anyone who loses their nerves now could miss what may become the biggest turnaround of the year. But anyone who invests blindly without knowing the risks is acting irresponsibly. We have to stay rational. Before we get to the conclusion, let's take a quick look at what the chart is telling us. Right now, the stock is trading steadily around 35 euros. That is a good sign, because it shows us after the last sell-off, the stock has at least stabilized for now. But, and this is a big but, there is a massive resistance on the upside in the area between 37.5 and 38.5 euros. Only if we break through this area sustainably with high volume, the path would be open for a real new rally. On the downside, the 30 euro mark is our decisive support level. That is the line in the sand. If the stock unexpectedly falls below 30 euros, then I personally will probably have to pull the plug. Right now, to me, it looks more like a healthy bottoming process. The bulls and bears are fighting, but the news flow from the last few days gives the bulls much more ammunition. Make sure to subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss the video right after the earnings numbers on May 6. There we will analyze the results in real time. So Novo Nordisk is being tested head on by market expectations, but the hard facts are sending a clear message. Lilly's Foundayo flop removes a lot of pressure from the situation. The pipeline successes in hibiscus and pyronidines show that the growth story is still intact and is even expanding into new areas. Yes, Amazon's entry creates uncertainty, but it also validates the enormous market potential. I remain calm, I continue to hold my position, and I'm watching May 6 very closely. Here you can now watch another video what you absolutely need to see as an ETF investor, and here another interesting one. Enjoy, and with that, ciao.